गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुसाक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः. If Atman, that is the self, is everywhere, why we do not know? Why do we not know that it is everywhere? The common explanation that because ignorance covers it, this is what is told in most of the preliminary, what you call, expositions. Huh? Wherever it says, I am not the body, I am not the world, everything other than the self is matter, and that matter is experienced, that matter is not experienced as the truth because of Maya, because of ignorance, because of self forgetfulness. These are the reasons that is given. So here it is told that because ignorance covers it, but this statement, this conclusion, which we have studied before, it is erroneous from the highest standpoint. This is a erroneous one because the existence of Atma Tattva is not dependent on the presence and absence of ignorance. Atma or the self, it is an all pervading principle. There is no place that it is not. If you say that ignorance is present and Atma is present, then you will give reality to ignorance. That means ignorance is also present and Atma is also present, but that is not the way. From the sun's point of view, the day and night that we see, the darkness and light that we see, that is our daily experience, it is absent from the sun point of view. Exactly the same way, from the consciousness, from the pure consciousness point of view or the self point of view, from the standpoint of the self, the ignorance or presence or absence of ignorance does not affect the existence of Atma. Appearance or disappearance of wave does not influence the existence of water. The appearance or disappearance of day and night does not influence the existence of sun. Sun is self-existing. Water is self-existing. So also the self is also self-existing. Atma Tattva indeed supports its own non-existence, its own unknowableness, its own denial by the people. So this self-forgetfulness, the self-denial, and it is all supported. The absence is supported by the self alone. Just like waking dream is the manifestation and deep sleep is the unmanifestation. Both are supported. Deep sleep is the absence. Waking and dream is the presence. Both are supported by the self alone that I am. Because absence appeared in the mind, so I have become absent. Is that the way? Is that your experience? No. That knowledge where the transaction of thought between the knower and known is valued falls within the purview of ignorance, and that knowledge where the thought process does not require to be initiated is Atma Tattva. So beautiful, Swamiji has written. Where there is an interaction between subject and object. Subject takes on the roles of what? Knower, seer, hearer, toucher, taster, thinker, experiencer. Huh? And why does the subject take that role? It's always in relation to something, isn't it? So seer is in relation to seen, knower is relation to seen, Experiencer is in relation to experienced. So here Swamiji is saying that as long as we are functioning at the level of subject and object, we are under the influence of ignorance. Thought free existence. And when we remain in a thought free state, but aware, not going to sleep, but aware, that itself is the being the self. So don't give too much value to the thoughts, don't give too much value to the emotions. See, when you speak like this to the people, and if I'm speaking to you, or Jnaneshwar Maharaj is speaking to us, we might take it in the wrong way. Then what's the point of being born? Then what's the point of living life? That I can't even express my emotions, I can't express my thoughts, I can't. Then why are we reading? Thinking must lead to silence. If thinking is leading to more thinking, it will create eventually restlessness, agitation, frustration, depression. Thinking must lead to silence. And that silence, we are not talking about a dull silence, no. It's a vibrant silence. It is an eloquent silence. It is a dynamic silence. And that dynamism is of the self, reverberating through that silence. See? And these moments we catch here and there throughout the day, where the mind is silent just for few seconds. But then our obsession with the thought and being a mother or a daughter or a sister or a brother or a husband or a teacher or a student, all these various roles, we are given so much importance that we are continuously caught up in that and are not able to see who we really or be as we really are. Instead, we want to think and come to a conclusion about ourselves. This is the mistake that we are doing. That by thinking we can never come to our own conclusion as to our being. The being is in spite of the thinking process. This must be caught. So if our thinking is leading to this, that I come to a disposition that whether there is thinking or no thinking, I continue to be. Then it's a good beginning. In meditation, in dhyana abhyas, in savikalpa samadhi, which is meditation with a thought, the thought process is brought to a halt by being a sakshi. The thought process is brought to a halt by being a witness. What does witness do? He does not give attention and value to any thought that is coming in the mind. He is just the observer, not interfering with the observed. He is not giving value and attention to the observed. When you give value and attention to the observed, then that observed will generate even more thoughts. It will lead to more thoughts. But when you are merely an observer and the observed is coming and going, and not getting attention and value from you, indulgence from you, eventually the thought flow, the river of thoughts, slowly subsides and comes to a standstill. When the thoughts come to a standstill, then the observer, he is called an observer only in relation to the observed. But now he is not observed. If there is nothing to observe, then is there any need of observer? No. He also, the thought of observer also goes away, and what remains is the pure self. Sakshi. The thought process is brought to a halt by being a witness, sakshi. But this is only temporary as long as the samadhi lasts. In the next step of Nirvikalpa Samadhi, the position of one's own being is strengthened by being a Sakshi effortlessly. The next step is to discover that the Sakshi is only one who is illuminating all the three planes of consciousness in general. See, whenever we sit in meditation, like we sat before the class, we sat for whatever time we did, 1.5 hour, but it comes to conclusion after some time. And if you are very sincere, then your attention will come to, I get into silence, I become a witness only when I am on the seat of meditation. Is there any way that I can be a witness 24 by 7? So the more we practice this Nirvikalpa Samadhi, and this intention is there, slowly it will percolate your entire life. Then whether you sit in meditation or you don't sit in meditation, you are a witness of everything that is going on. You don't interfere in anything. And this is what is told. And then it is told that this Sakshi is only one, that this Sakshi, and as this impact that I am the witness and I don't need to be in meditation, I can 24 by 7, meaning throughout the waking plane I can remain a witness of everything, then that percolates into the dream world. I remain a witness of the dream also. Then I continue to remain the witness of the deep sleep also. So which means 24 by 7, the waking experience, the dream experience and the deep sleep experience, I am a witness of. This is called, now there is no need to sleep. Sorry, not sleep, to meditate. If it happens, good. If the mind wants to go to sleep, let it sleep, but you are awake to it. Being awake to a sleeping mind is meditation, is Nirvikalpa Samadhi. So sometimes it will happen, sometimes it will not. But appearance or disappearance of thoughts, where do the thoughts appear? In the waking and dream, isn't it? They do not become a source of problem, agitation, attraction. Why? You are not focused on the thoughts, objective thoughts, you are focused on being the witness. And in this way, the next step is to discover that this Sakshi, the witness, is only one who is illuminating all the three planes of consciousness in general. All the Pramanas, the Vedas, the external light, the gross space, the Ahankara Tattva, the intellect, the mind, the senses, none of these can function in the field of the self. Therefore, the self is unknowable, meaning all the inferences, all the means by which we can know. For you to come from your house to here, the means was the car. So there are different means employed. Here the scripture is employed. Here right now we are listening to the words of the great master Jnaneshwar Maharaj. This is a means. It is not the truth. By thinking, using these means, we have to transcend the means. So here the teacher is saying all the means, the Vedas, that is all the written word. Vedas are the scriptures that which talk about the truth. The Vedas, the external light. Without that external light, you cannot see any object in this world. I can see you only because there is light reflecting on the body. We see the reflection. We don't see the light. We see the reflection. All the objects are being illumined by the light. Therefore, our eyes is able to see that. So that external light, the gross space, the outside space in which the entire universe is existing. the intellect, where the decisions are made, convictions are made, the mind, the senses, none of these can function in the field of the self, meaning they do not have the capacity, capability to illuminate the self. They do not have that. Self is self existing. Self is self knowing. See, we are saying yes, we are nodding yes, but what happens? Again, we go home and open a book and try to read from the book what other person is telling about the truth that I am. We go from one lecturer to another lecturer. We go from one book to another book. We go from one CD, one YouTube talk to another YouTube talk, thinking that something here will illuminate the self to me. But there is no means possible to illuminate the self that you are. Only the self can illuminate the self. Only the self can know the self. Uddharet atmana atmanam na atmanam avasadayet. Raise yourself by the self. No other external means has any capacity to illuminate the self. Not the intellect, not the mind, not the senses, not the body, not the Vedas, not the scriptures, not the external light, not the various means. No means are possible. Thought is also a mean. So this whole re-evaluation of your experience of life is being told to you so that you can fall back into yourself. Therefore, the self is not knowable, not because it is not existent, but because it is that very existence which supports every means of knowledge. So there is no point in comparing Atma Tattva with ignorance. With reference to the self, no language is correct and no language is wrong. Just like the day can never illuminate the sun. The torch cannot illuminate the sun. This light cannot illuminate the sun. The reflected light that we see as light of the sun is actually dark light. Scientifically, it is dark light. Once you go out into the space, there is no sun rays. The way you see them on earth, you don't see them in space. It is called dark light. It appears as light only when it reflects on a surface. Only then. So, surface is of the objects, but then we see so much sunlight in the on earth. Why is that? Because it is reflecting against the particles in the ionosphere, stratosphere, all the particles in the atmosphere of the earth. And those particles are from the earth till 11 kilometers above into the sky. As that is till where the entire atmosphere of the earth is maintained. The moment that dark light of the sun, which is a colorless light, it's a oxymoron, colorless light, it passes through the atmosphere of the earth, immediately it starts refracting. It starts breaking up. Just like the light starts breaking up due to the moisture and the particles in the sky, it breaks up into the 7 colors, isn't it? Exactly the same way, this dark light, when it comes down through the atmosphere of the sky, it breaks up. It's called refraction. And that refracted light is the light that you and me see right now. So the light that you're seeing outside is not the original light of the sun. It is the refracted light. See? So this light has got no comparison to the actual sun's light. What is sun is independent of what you call as light or what you call as darkness, because both are included in the sun. You see, both are included in the sun. Presence of thought and absence of thought, both are supported by you. Both are. Your mind alone is becoming thought free, your mind alone is becoming full of thoughts. Are you noticing that every now and then? Yes. So that which comes and goes, that which is only temporarily existing, how can that temporary means, the thought, ever illuminate that which is permanent? That is you who was the observer? Not possible. So get out of this addiction of trying to know yourself through thoughts. So does that mean we should not think? Think. Think in such a manner that your mind becomes silent. Instead, what do? We think in order to confuse our mind further. We think about finding solutions for the world. We think, oh, this has not clicked, I must think in this particular, I'll see what this teacher says or what that teacher says or what this teacher says. We are running away. We are not taking responsibility for who we are. We want it easy. We want it that someone comes and touches our head and we get realized, that we become peaceful. Just like a small child, he doesn't want to eat, and mom has to feed it, and then he will get fed. We want to be fed. We don't want to take responsibility. In other words, we don't want to be who we are. Continuously sabotaging our existence, our truth, by way of diluting it through thinking. With reference to the self, no language is correct and no language is wrong. And therefore, truth, whenever it is indicated by teachers or the scriptures, it is always in the language of contradiction. You cannot say this is the right way or this is the wrong way. Both right way and the wrong way are supported by the same one. The expression of ignorance is in the form of nama and rupa. When one inquires into these names and forms, they disappear and the truth which is asti bhati priya is revealed. When there is no desire to know oneself, why should there be any conditioning of the self? Desire means otherness. When desire is dropped, I am alone remains. Everything we come to know in this world through these five. Everything exists, I know it exists, that which exists is dear to me, and that which exists has a name, and that which exists has a form. So, you exist, I know you exist, you are dear to me, you have a name, and you have a form. So how do we come to the truth? How do we get the thoughts in our mind? Our thoughts in the mind are only about the name and form. In our mind, the thoughts are only about the name and form. Stop giving importance to the name and form. Then what remains? Asti bhati priya. Existence, consciousness, that is knowingness, and the dearness. That is the truth. That is the truth. And once you are not, and when the, and if the, Initially, yes, we begin with the desire to know ourselves. Scriptures also say that. But here, Jnaneshwar Maharaj has reached the epitome. He's reached the climax. Even that desire for the self has to be dropped. And when that desire for the self is dropped, meaning now you're not thinking of who am I, then what remains is I am. And that right, I am is a thought free experience. Again, I am, therefore thinking happens, not the other way around. I think, therefore I am. No. Now, the 18th wave from OVs 116 to 117, neither ignorance nor knowledge can be known. As a gambler is defeated by the tricks of the game, or a foolish person trying to jump over the head of his own shadow fails, all efforts to know the ignorance or knowledge are futile. How beautiful. Just like you cannot jump over your own shadow, and like in the same manner, to come to know what is ignorance is a futile, is futile. To come to know knowledge is also equally futile, because what we know as knowledge is, how do we gain it? By reading books, by generating thoughts. Thought knowledge is not knowledge, it is a lower form of knowledge. Then which is the knowledge that we have to gain? Wisdom. Wisdom is gained not through thoughts, it's in spite of the thoughts. And that is what is told here. That all efforts to know ignorance or knowledge are futile. So don't try to work out ignorance, don't try to work out the knowledge. The next wave, OVs 118 to 122. Self cannot be known because it is the subject itself. Just like the eyes cannot see themselves, the mind cannot see itself, exactly the same way, the self cannot also come to know itself through the means of the thoughts. It is as it is.
Can I ask a question? What is exactly meant by self-illumination? What's this illumination?
Right now, are you illuminating me?
Yeah.
Because your eyes are, if your eyes were not able to grab the light which is reflecting from this body, you will not cognize me. Right? Agree or not?
Yeah.
So everything in life, everything in this creation, you know, because at the physical level, your eyes are illuminating, your ears are illuminating the sounds, etc., etc., isn't it? Can they illuminate can your five senses illuminate the thoughts in your mind?
No.
No. But can the thoughts in the mind illuminate the five senses? Yes. Isn't it? Similarly, the thoughts in the mind cannot illuminate its source, the self, but the self can illuminate the thoughts.
But wait, I'm talking about self.
Wait, I'm taking you step by step, so have patience.
Okay.
Don't be obsessed with your question. So understand the process that I'm taking you. So gross senses can illuminate the gross world, but they cannot illuminate the subtle thoughts. The subtle thoughts can illuminate the gross senses, but they cannot illuminate their source, which is the witness. Understand? But because the thoughts cannot illuminate the witnessing self, does that mean that the self does not exist? Do you know self is? Do you know you are? Yes. And therefore it is told, self knows itself by itself. It does not know itself because of thoughts. It does not know itself because of the senses. It does not know itself because the scriptures are telling it. It does not know itself because the creation is there. No, it knows itself by itself. But you know the thoughts because of the self. You know the senses because of the thoughts. You know the world because of the senses. Right? But the self does not require any means. Not require. It cannot be illumined by the world. It cannot be illumined by the scriptures. It cannot be illumined by the senses. It cannot be illumined by the thoughts, because it is the source substratum itself. And when it is said it is self-illumined, immediately, instead of thinking in your head as a concept, that this statement is a conceptual statement, make it subjective knowledge. So you are the subject. Do you need thoughts to know that you are? No. Which means you are self-illumined. And yet you know. And yet you know.
So it's a knowingness and not an actual.
It is not even.
An actual light.
No, it is not the actual. The light is a way of speaking, an illumination.
Yeah, I thought it was.
So everything in this world is only an illumination. Just like I told you, you are illuminating, your eyes are illuminating me. Your ears are illuminating the sound. And if you want to use another word for illumination, cognizing. Your eyes are cognizing me. Your ears are cognizing the sound. Your tongue is cognizing the tastes. Can the thoughts cognize the self? No. So, in other words, self is self-cognizant. Self is self-knowing. Self is self-illumined. No other means is possible to know the self.
Well, then I go back to the Bible where it says the first act of creation is light. And I have seen that light. Now, it's not of this world, I know that. But I'm just wondering, and that was the first time that I knew itself, but I didn't know it till I really came here. So I just wonder what this illumination or this light is. It's a most...
Because you are following the Christian path, another person is following the Hindu path, another person is following the Buddhist path or the Islamic path or the Sikh path. They have certain concepts in their mind. Everywhere something is told, and here it is told, first came the Lord, and what was the statement that you made? First came the light.
First was God, and then God created the light. That was the first
And then,
act of creation, according to the Bible. Yeah.
and then after light.
After light, back in this world.
So some places it is said first came the light. Some places it is said first came the word. For some religions they say first came the Maya, first expression, and that expression, whichever way you want to put it, the phenomena, the light is the phenomena, Maya is the phenomena, knowledge is the phenomena. So that which is manifesting. So what is this light? What is this manifestation? Is it the reality? Yes and no. Yes and no. If you focus on the light, it is not the reality. If you focus on the waves, they are not the reality. But essentially they are nothing but the reality called water. Agree? Essentially they are nothing but the reality. So if we have certain ideas in our head, and as we are contemplating, those ideas, those convictions, those faiths with which we have been brought up in our life, they tend to gain, they tend to appear as experiences. See?
If the light wasn't there, there would be only consciousness knowing itself, I think.
Light, see, again I am telling you, you are, I don't want to undermine your experience, but at the same time you have to understand, if you have experienced light and it has gone away, it is not the real thing. It is only a figment of imagination, as transcendental, as divine, as beautiful it may have been. People experience heaven when they are in coma. People experience many, many different beautiful things, but it is only temporary. Now you understand this much, that you had an experience, there must be an experiencer of that light, and that you are. So don't give too much importance to the phenomena.
I can see what you're getting at, but I really wanted only to know.
So that is beautiful.
Self-illumination,
As much as it is beautiful, these things happen when we begin the spiritual path. Many experiences come like this. People see light, people hear different sounds, music, people have visions, because these things happen. But if we give too much importance to this, then we are losing what our real focus is. They may be most transcendental, and sometimes thinking about these and having these visions puts you into meditation for a long period of time. But that is not the conclusion. As beautiful as it may be, as beautiful as it may, because it has come and gone. We want a permanent.
But that consciousness experience, without the light, is still available here. Because
Absolutely, that's what we are trying to tell. That is what Naneshwar Maharaj is saying, that whether there is
consciousness that I know that I am here, is over there.
exactly, it's always, and that now you have come to your conclusion that consciousness is always, whether there is experience or no experience, whether there is thought or no thought. Therefore, that self-existence of the self, in other words you can say, it is self-illumined. Means the self can know only itself. No other thought, no other experience, no other object in the world, no time, no space, nothing can illuminate it. It illuminates itself. Illumination means knowingness. It is self-knowing. And what we are doing is, we are using the thoughts to come to the self. But we have to understand, yes, you can use the thoughts, but we have to come into a disposition where we are able to see that the thoughts are also appearing, or thoughts are getting illumined, or thoughts are happening of their own accord, and they cannot happen without the self that I am. You understand? Just like senses have got no meaning if the mind is not behind the senses. Such a person is called a vegetable. He has the senses, but their eyes are open, he sees, but no thought is created because mind is absent. Ears are open, you are hearing everything, but you can't, no thought is created, isn't it? Similarly, thoughts cannot happen without the conscious principle, the self that I am. So rather than taking yourself to be the body, rather than taking yourself to be the senses, rather than taking yourself to be the emotional or the thinking person with concepts, ideas, knowledge, drop all that, Jnaneshwar Maharaj is saying. Take yourself to be the self, in spite of all this. Because the phenomena will continue. You cannot stop the phenomena. You cannot stop day and night coming and going every day. You cannot stop waking, dreaming, and deep sleep experience coming and going every day. You cannot stop the thoughts coming into your mind every day. But don't become the thoughts. Watch that. Watch that. The thoughts are just a phenomena. You are the one. You get caught up in the loop, in the gravity of the thoughts. You remain separate, and that is called witnessing. And let it take you further than that. The more you remain focused on the self as the witness, not giving too much value to the world, not giving too much value to the senses, not giving too much value to the thoughts and emotions in the mind, slowly, slowly, the onslaught of all this will keep subsiding, dissolving. Eventually, it will sublimate. Then what remains behind is the self. It was there before also. Just like the waters of the ocean are there, too many waves. You can't see the reflection of the moon. As the waves start subsiding, the reflection of the moon becomes clearer and clearer and clearer, and when the waves are completely gone, the reflection is as it is. You see the round moon there, you see the round moon in the ocean. Why? Because the waves on the ocean have become quiet. Exactly the same way. When the waves on the mind have become subsided, they have become quiet, then the self, the reflection of the self, the mirror of the mind, this is only an example. Now don't start thinking that this is exactly how it happens. The reflection of the self will become complete. Right now it is too broken. And once you have come to know that I am complete all the time, then let the waves come. Once you have recognized that you are never broken up because of the thoughts, that you are not broken up because of the thoughts are because of you. From that moment onwards, whether the waves are there or not there, you are not disturbed by anything. None of our faculties can function in the realm of Atma Tattva, in the realm of the self. It is other than the known and the unknown. He who contemplates on this will unknowingly know himself. That means the self is other than the known and the unknown. The self is other than the manifestation and the unmanifestation. Self is other than the knowledge and ignorance. He who contemplates on this will unknowingly know himself. Why unknowingly know himself? Because self is self-illumined, self-knowing. You don't need a thought to know the self. So when you start saying the self is beyond the known and the unknown, what is unknown? Oh, what is unknown is unknown. I don't know what absence is unknown. What is known? And you start contemplating the world, the senses, the mind, the emotions, the concepts, the thoughts. The thought that I am is also a thought. Oh, this is also unknown. Yes. And when you start giving zero importance to all these thoughts, then what remains behind is thought-free existence, is the thought-free self. And therefore, it is beyond the known and the unknown. Therefore, unknowingly you come to know. Unknowingly meaning, right now our faculty of thought knowledge is very, very paramount. We don't know how to know without a thought. This is our problem right now. We need the medium of thought to create knowledge. Only when we become subjective, even right now while you are listening, if you can observe the thoughts appearing and disappearing in your mind and shift your attention to the one in whose presence these thoughts are coming and going, unknowingly you have fallen back into yourself. Meaning, in spite of the thoughts, you are. The waking and the dream states fall in the category of the known, and the deep sleep state falls in the category of unknown. Other than these two is the substratum, the pure consciousness that I am. The known is the effect, the unknown is the cause. What is known? Waking and dream is the known. What is the unknown? Deep sleep is the unknown. This is at the relative level. Now go even deeper. The waking, the dream, and the deep sleep. These three are known, isn't it? And what is unknown? The self. See, it is the cause. It is the cause of all causes. Do you know deep sleep state? Yes, I know the deep sleep state. How do you come to know? If there was no thought, after waking up you come to know. So there must have been someone there. The known is the effect, the unknown is the cause. The Atma is other than the cause and the effect. The effect is in the later period of time, cause is in the earlier. The truth is beyond the concern of earlier or later with reference to the concept of time. The self cannot be known as an object through the process of thinking. Now this is what I have been trying to emphasize for last 10-15 minutes. The self cannot be conceptualized or known through the through the process of thinking. Where all thinking culminates and dissolves, only there the presence of the truth is revealed without the knower being separate from the truth. The total world is the manifestation of consciousness, not of ignorance. So, here Jnaneshwar Maharaj is taking us to a new relative reality. Instead of thinking the world to be an expression of ignorance, he is saying don't give importance to the ignorance. You are not here born as a human being in order to prove that ignorance exists. We are not here for that purpose. We are here to reclaim who we essentially are. And what are we? We are that infinite, pure, immaculate self, the pure consciousness. And how can you be that? You are already that. Instead of thinking about what I am not, think about who you are. Rather than thinking that I am a thinking person, be the person because of whom the thinking happens. So this shift in position is required. Without this shift in position to be the subject, not think that you are the subject, but be the subject in whose presence the thoughts are coming and going, the waker, dream and deep sleep are coming and going, seeing, hearing, touching, feeling, tasting is coming and going, the emotions are coming and going, the day and night are coming and going, the time is coming and going. But you have always remained the same. Be that. The total world is the manifestation of consciousness, not of ignorance. So here, in the initial text we read that ignorance is equal to Maya, and that ignorance or Maya, different ways were taken. There are infinite number of ways of explaining how ignorance or self-forgetfulness or Maya or Prakriti has become this creation. When they use the word Maya or Prakriti, they say that Maya is unmanifest, it becomes Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, and then from that the space, air, fire, water, earth, and all those things come, and it mixes with each other, and the whole creation as we see it is coming about. Another way, that's a way, and it is good that we have to somehow, because our inquisitive mind is looking for solutions. Then another way is told that ignorance is there, ignorance has come about. What is ignorance? Not knowing the self is called ignorance. Then what? How does ignorance is in general? It's absence of everything. Then what is the child of ignorance? Desire is the child of ignorance. And what is the grandchild of the ignorance? It is action. This is another way it is told. And we get lost into action, get lost into desires, and we get lost into the expression of ignorance. And with that expression of ignorance, we are trying to disprove ignorance and prove that truth is. With what? With thoughts and words. But thoughts and words are the children of ignorance. And with that offspring, you are trying to disprove, trying to dilute the existence of ignorance and trying to establish the truth. It is not possible. It is not possible. The effect can never come to know the cause. Don't fall into that trap. So when we are studying scriptures, we are in this phenomena. What can we do about it? But the opportunity while listening to this is not to remain in the intellect, but to fall back into the self and observe that this whole thing is going on. So here the teacher says towards the conclusion, where are we? Here. The total world is the manifestation of consciousness, not of ignorance. The self cannot be known, being the subject. The object alone is manifested as the total world. So, understand, woman cannot be known by being a wife. But woman can be known as woman in spite of being the wife, when you don't give too much importance to that role. Otherwise, if you remain a wife, you'll never be a woman. Essentially you are a woman, but you will never know it. Why? That wife personality will not allow the womanness to express itself. As long as a wave is wave, that waveness will not allow the infinity of waters to become its direct experience. You see? So same way here it is told that the self cannot be known by being the subject. Every moment I am the knower, you are the known. I am the knower, senses are the known. I am the knower, mind, thoughts are the known. I am the knower, absence of thought is known. As long as you remain a knower, you cannot come to know the truth. You are not being the self. You have to step back. Knower is the subject. Subject is existing only on account of the object. In the meditation also I took something like this, we took that everything is coexisting in creation. Everything is self-regulated. So this subject and object, they are coexisting. If there is no object, there is no reason for being the subject. Meaning subject as a thought called I. Right now you say everything, I am, I'm going, I'm eating, I'm this, I'm that. So this I thought is existing only because of that thought. If there is no that thought, object for it to cognize, the I loses its meaning. The thought aspect of the I drops away. Then what remains is the real I. And that is what is told here, that subject and the entire world is nothing but the object. And you are beyond the subject and the object. So, what is the next approach from here? Yes, Swamiji says, 3 approaches to the truth are possible: from the source of experience, from the experience, and from the experiencer. We'll look at it in our next class. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnadachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते. ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः. हरिः